I've been sitting here thinking about how to record this video, record the audio for this video, and just really have a heart-to-heart discussion with you guys about PlayStation in the year 2024 and my honest thoughts. Now, a part of me wants to sit there and say, hey, don't worry, things will get better because, there are games coming, and I do feel like the company is going to turn things around. But at the same time, it's kind of hard to have that attitude when there's doubt in my own mind. I don't think PlayStation won't turn things around. I just worry that it might not be fast enough. So, one of the first things I would like to talk about is just the lack of really big games this year. Like we all know this year has been just like them saying, hey, we got no big marquee title to end the year on. The biggest game they have to end the year on, potentially, is Astro Bot. And that's just because of all the nostalgia references for old school PlayStation guys like myself. And that's kind of sad when you think about it, because Astro Bot is one of those things that if it were to come out any other year, it would be good filler content. But this is supposed to be, in a way, their big summer game. Because technically, Lego Horizon could be their big, I guess you would say, holiday game. But it's even then, it's a Lego game, so it's more experimental, if anything. And, it going to Switch is definitely experimental. But I'm not the happiest with the games when it came to this year. Because, it's been rough. It's been rough because there are very few, I guess you would say, must plays. Okay, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, I think is a damn good game. I was surprised how much I enjoy that. And I admit this each time a day, I am not a Square Enix fan. I think their games at times are sloppy. I think their games could be outright boring in the case of Final Fantasy 16. But somehow, some way, they got me interested in Final Fantasy VII. I didn't even like the first remake, for example, just as a point, because I thought it was too slow. I was like, my God, how much could they drag their fucking feet? But this felt perfect. It was the perfect pace. It was telling the right amount of story, and they changed things to a point where it almost felt like a new experience, especially for a fan who probably has played Final Fantasy VII, the first one, religiously. So it is nice how there are changes, and some of these changes actually make sense. I've recently also been playing through Rise of Ronin, and I gotta admit, man, Rise of Ronin is it's starting to grow on me quite a bit. I'm not gonna say it's better than Ghost of Tsushima, because it's not, but there are points I would say that Rise of Ronin does better than Ghost, just because it actually feels a little bit more video game-ish. I don't know how to describe it. I kind of feel like if this is how Neo plays, I kind of be interested, playing the Neo games then. Far as Stellar Blade goes, I have not played Stellar Blade. I probably will end up buying it at some point if I see it on sale, but I can't make a judgment on a game I haven't played. And of course, the quote-unquote big PlayStation game that's come out so far this year is Helldivers 2. I almost said Hellblade 2. But I am kind of in a mixed camp with Helldivers 2 right now. Mostly because, first off, the player base has just dropped off. It has. Everyone can see it. I think people are absolutely right to say that this game has basically died. I wouldn't say necessarily died because of Sony, but it sure as hell didn't help. I think the player base was always dipping. It wasn't growing at that rapid rate it was first. But now it's just this game is just on life support. Not actual life support, but I don't think the player base is there anymore. And it's sad because I think the game could be great if Arrowhead actually got ahead of certain issues. And I think if they kept the content flowing. You can only kill so many bugs until you're you know what, man, I think I've done this one too many times. I think I'm about done with this because, god damn it, the automatons, the robots, they are fucking next to impossible to deal with. And the bugs, while fun to kill, gets really fucking repetitive. Like, it's between kill a bunch of bugs that it feels kind of mindless at some point, or kill a bunch of robots that you swear to Christ they are just stacking the odds against you. And then you have to deal with the toxic ass players, fucking people who literally will start team killing at the last minute just so that they can be a dickhead. Just like, I hate that. But yeah, as far as those state of plays they've had, I would have to look over the first one, but the second one, it was mid. Like, if I'm being honest, it was mid. As far as PlayStation VR 2 goes, this thing's dead. Like, we just have to admit this right now. PlayStation community, we need to admit, VR 2 is dead. This thing has barely sold anything. I think really it's the price point. I think if that would have come in at a little lower, maybe a $400 VR headset, and then, $500 for the extra controller, but then you do actually need those controllers. So I would have said $400 with the controllers, and then $500 for a pack and towel. I think it would have been more tempting for some people. But Sony being Sony, they just price gouge the shit out of this thing. And it's just like, people do not care about VR2. That's the problem, because it's actually, from what I heard, a good handheld. Like, people have told me it's a handheld. That's something else. But they told me, like, it's actually a good VR headset, especially at the price, because, it has a lot of those high quality, VR stuff. The problem very much is it's too damn expensive, and let's be honest here, there's not a lot of support for this damn thing. Even Sony will try to, they'll quickly throw in a couple VR games to talk about, but that's it. That they themselves are barely touching VR, and that sucks, because I always felt like VR was one of those things that if the right company would have got their hands on it, man, oh man, they could have had something great here. And I think Sony has some good titles, like the original first Astrobot game, Rescue Mission, and Moss. And then you had stuff like, funny enough, the Horizon, and Gran Turismo on VR. There's stuff that is good. It's just, you gotta get people to buy it first, and there's the problem. I guess I quickly talk about the PlayStation Portal, the surprise success that I guess a lot of people don't like. They think it's pointless, and I do agree to a point. But at the same time, it's just another fantasy controller. That's literally what it is to me. Like, I don't hate the Portal, but I don't love it either. It's something I wish I actually would have firsthand experience with, because if I'm being honest, it is one of those things that I'm like, man, I kind of want to get one, if I'm being honest. Like, I'm tempted just to get the experience, like, what is this device like? Because I think this is the closest thing we're getting to a native handheld, quote unquote, native handheld, for a while. I don't think Sony's going to dip into the handheld market, because it just doesn't make sense for them to do that. They tried it twice, and while the first time was successful, the second time, not so much. So, upcoming games. Games that, Sony has plans for. And for the record, I've also been hearing about new leaks that are hitting the internet. Be cautious when it comes to the Wolverine game, guys. I'm hearing a lot of stuff about how that game's been leaked out. So, be careful about that. Just a heads up to everyone. But for the record, on this channel, we're not going to cover the leaks. We're not going to talk about them. Just like how I didn't talk about the Insomniac leaks, when they first showed up, because I was like, I feel like that's kind of disrespectful to the developers. Because, yeah, again, this was a messed up situation they were in. I think, out of respect for the devs, people shouldn't share this information. At most, maybe you can hint, I think you should be able to do is like kind of hint that maybe information off those leaks, but don't, outright say it. Don't be like, outright say, Spider-Man DLC confirmed, or, stuff like that. So, as far as upcoming games, yeah, I think I already kind of talked about it. I feel like the one game, I feel weird saying this. Maybe it is because it's a Sony game, if I'm being honest. But Concord. I feel like a lot of people are dismissive of this game, and I get why. 100%. I own it. Like, maybe I'm liking this because it's a PlayStation game. But I feel like this game might have some legs to it if the gameplay's there. And that's the important part. If the gameplay is there. And I really hope, I really do hope that this has great gameplay with a decent story. It doesn't have to have the best story in the world because, it's a live service game. But I think it's coming at a good price point too. I think that's the other thing that's kind of interesting about Concord. Astrobot, they're willing to charge $60 for. Concord, they're charging $40 for. And it's really interesting when you think about that. And then we got the Until Dawn remaster. That's a thing, I guess, I'm buying for the streaming. But go back to Concord. Yeah, I don't think it looks bad. I don't think it looks super original. I think it looks pretty mid, as the kids would say. But at the same time, I never got into Overwatch, and I kind of always had some regret not getting into it. So maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time TPG says, hey, you know what? Fuck it. Let's try this hero shooter out. Maybe I'll stream it, and you guys could watch me suffer through this potentially mediocre game, or it could be a great game, and some people will be interested. So we'll, get to that road when we get to that road. Lego Horizon, yeah, it's a thing. I'm buying it, obviously, because, I like it. For the record, I'm very, I'm very harsh towards the Horizon franchise because I always see that potential it has, that potential to be something great, and it always kind of misses the mark just by an inch. And it's like, damn it. And I do think this is a franchise that lends itself well to Lego. I think it lends itself well to a younger audience. Robot dinosaurs. What kid isn't going to like that? You put that in a Lego setting with, some of that Lego sense of humor it's infamous for. You know what? I can see it working. I can see it working. I don't think it's going to be the best game ever, 10 out of 10, but I do think it's be a fun time to distract the kids. No, what's going to be the true game of the year is Astrobot. Astrobot's the big game going into the rest of this year. And you know what? After all the stuff I've been hearing about this game through the previews, it does sound pretty damn good. And especially, like I said, if you're an old school PlayStation fan like me, there's a ton of Easter eggs. They even updated Astro's Playroom. They're going to release a new trophy, a new Astrobot to save every month in order for the build up towards the next Astrobot game, which I think that's genius in my mind because, hey, it's a game everyone got when they got a PS5. Why not do it? It's kind of genius when you think about it. As far as the PlayStation ports go, yeah, I've heard next to no complaints outside of, the PlayStation mandatory login. Oh no, oh God, how dare Sony require you to sign into PSN? I don't understand the controversy behind that, but at the same time, I'm not on PC. So am I going to complain that I have to log into my PSN when I sign in on my PlayStation? No. So it's I got no dog in that race. So yeah, the rest of this year, it looks like it's going to be pretty safe for the most part. But then we get into the rumors. And I guess I'll go over a couple of rumors I've been hearing. One of the rumors I've been hearing is that supposedly later this year, I'm going to guess around September or October, we're supposed to get a new PlayStation State of Play or some kind of, a bigger PlayStation event than a State of Play. But then you never know because that was the rumor. We were supposed to get some kind of showcase. We end up getting a State of Play. So I'm going to temper my expectations. But according to Insider Shinobi, it sounds like Sony has a lot of games planned for 2025. I think the way Sony should start that is in September by showing off Death Stranding 2 with a launch window. And then I think they should show off Wolverine and potentially Spider-Man 2 DLC. And surprise me with something like maybe the announcement of Naughty Dog's next game, but no release date. I don't know. I do think we are going to get a bigger PlayStation event later this year. But I'm not going to try to predict what's going to be there. Far as I know, Naughty Dog's going to come in and confirm everything. Last of Us Part 3, Uncharted 5, a brand new fantasy RPG IP from us. I don't know. Maybe then people will actually like Naughty Dog then. Besides, fanboys like me, which, yeah. Yeah, but then there's also the PS5 Pro, which that also kind of feels like that gives the legitimacy to that rumor of some kind of bigger PlayStation event. Because by September, they should at least have revealed this thing and sent out the price to, the price of what this thing's going to be, which is like the worst kept secret, by the way. Everyone knows this thing's happening. We know Sony has plans for it. I doubt it's just going to be a random blog drop. But then again, Sony can do that, and I'd probably be happy with it. So it's hard to say what they will do in the future outside of release games that they confirm they're going to release. So for the record, I think also Lego Horizon is going to probably be a November game, or potentially, because it says holiday. It's kind of hard to say because like holiday technically is like October, November, December. Personally, I kind of throw September in there just because like then it's like 4 states months. So I think November would be a good time for it. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on that. Overall, yeah, that's just my thoughts. PlayStation is it's a rough year. It's been a year where a lot of changes have happened. A lot of leadership changes have happened. Jim Ryan's out. Herman Hulsch and this other guy are in. And honestly, they seem to be steering the company in the right direction. I feel like Jim Ryan, I get shit from a certain viewer and a certain friend of mine. Oh, they hate Jim Ryan. I don't think Jim Ryan was the worst thing ever. Don't get me wrong. I am not holding the man's, gargling his ball sack or anything. I think Jim Ryan did a job that kept the company going. That's the most I could say. It's like with a president. Yeah, he's not the best president in the world, but he didn't catch the country on fire either. So he isn't the worst ever. But I don't know. What do you guys think of PlayStation in the year 2024, midway through this year? It requires 6/17. What do you guys think? Do you think PlayStation is dead and it's never going to be relevant again like Harmon Smith? Or do you think PlayStation is doing absolute best they can do, but in a bad situation, kind of like I think? Or, I don't know, somewhere in the middle. So until next time, peace out. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that YouTube algorithm BS. Bye.